Welcome to Book Club for Movies, everybody, for the week of July.
No. Okay.
Now I don't know if I should redo that or not.
It's the week of July. It's you called it. You said it. It was a funny thing. Here, cut this in. That is a good one, Ryan. Hilarious. All right.
July 18th, I'm Ryan Miller, and Blonde Fury himself.
Oh, come on.
I'm sorry. The Blonde Fury himself.
Come on.
Matt Amberg. Why? What?
I am most definitely the female reporter.
Oh, is that? I don't know. We can argue about that later, I guess. But
No, we can't.
welcome back to Julykwondo, the name that is good, and we're sticking with here at Book Club for Movies. Another good name.
We're namers. We're good at it. We're like, hey, what should this thing be? And we're like, let's find out. Let's call it the thing that it most is.
1,000,000%. And the thing that Julykwondo is.
The definition of is important here.
Yeah, thanks, Bill Clinton. Was that a?
Yeah.
Did we
right.
really? Okay.
Yeah.
Get
my saxophone.
Jeez.
All right.
So Julykwondo is our month-long fun fest of kung fu. I guess. Okay. It doesn't have to be kung fu. In fact, last year, technically, the perfect weapon wasn't kung fu. That's more
fair,
of a karate dude.
Julykwondo is just a way of saying we like martial arts movies and action stuff.
Yes.
Let's go with that.
Also a take on a Korean martial arts. So yes,
Yeah.
also not kung fu. I think we just end up get some kung fu in there, and we're gonna get it in this week. Let me tell you.
I can't wait for kung fu.
We did The Fearless Hyena last week.
That's right. That was
and
so good.
Enjoyed it.
Loved
one
it.
For one.
One for one.
This week we're doing The Blonde Fury.
Okay.
Like I mentioned, like
You
you
did.
are.
Yep, I am.
But also it is called Female Reporter or Above the Law 2. In fact, why don't you go ahead and synopsize, and I'll get into some what I got about Rothrock and the whole deal.
So wait, do you want me to synopsize The Blonde Fury, a.k.a. Female Reporter, a.k.a. Above the Law 2, a.k.a. Lady Reporter?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
Here is your Book Club for Movie synopsis for The Blonde Fury, a.k.a. Female Reporter, a.k.a. Above the Law 2, a.k.a. Lady Reporter. It's going to come at you an hour and 30 minutes, written by Tsai Sung Shum, directed by Hoi Mang, starring Cynthia Rothrock, Soo Ho Chin, Hoi Mang, Elizabeth Lee, and Ronnie Yu. Here is your Book Club for Movie synopsis for Female Reporter, a.k.a. Above the Law 2, a.k.a. Lady Reporter, a.k.a. The Blonde Fury. An FBI agent posing as a reporter in Hong Kong to investigate a corrupt news editor and his counterfeiting scheme where everything goes awry, Kung Fu style.
Fantastic. For a second, I thought your synopsis was just going to be saying the different titles together, which isn't non-descriptive.
I think in the right order, it does make sense, though. You've got the Above the Law 2 Blonde Fury Female Reporter.
See?
Like,
pretty good.
That's what she is the FBI agent. She's posing as a reporter in Hong Kong, investigating corrupt news editors and their counterfeiting schemes.
It belongs to one of my favorite genres of film. It's a very specific genre, but it is the Cynthia Rothrock film wherein she is still named Cindy in the movie, drives a little Volkswagen,
right,
and runs around doing kung fu stunts that quite possibly no other female reporter or otherwise has ever done in the history of cinema, I think.
I hope so. I hope not.
It's great.
I love her.
Some of the things I found out about this, and believe me, it was hard.
There is not a lot out there.
No, there isn't. I had to give you this movie, and I had to look for it myself for months, minimum. And by the time I did find it, it didn't come with subtitles. I do not know if this... I'm pretty sure it didn't get a Blu-ray release. That's why it's so hard to find. But also, I don't even know if it got like a legit English subtitling at any point, because
I can't imagine it did.
After viewing it, is your opinion?
Yeah,
Yes.
100%.
Yeah, I could only find two subtitles separately. One of them was out of sync. I think they were the same one. It's just one was out of sync and one was less out of sync, perhaps. So I don't know. Did you end up? I ended up mashing them all together and creating a single file for you and your enjoyment.
Yeah.
Did you run into any issues?
No.
Okay, good. All right.
No, not at all.
Wanted to get that out of the way first.
No. Actually, it was fine. It played perfect. When I threw on the subtitles, I mean, it played perfect and then became better because.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Wow. I
confirmed
mean,
you saw it. Yep.
Less knowledge about what's happening in the movie is. Like, this is, to me, a perfect example of show, don't tell, because this is like the subtitles were written by somebody who was passively watching the movie, like out of the corner of their eye while a tiger was eating a baby. Like something really major was occurring.
Which is one of the subtitles in the film.
It's there. But it's like somebody was doing, like they were making dinner, I've got a kitchen fire. I'm still going to do the subtitles for this. Here's basically what's going on, I think.
Sometimes you get the feeling the subtitles were done by an English-speaking person that has a fair amount of background in Chinese, and sometimes you feel like it's the other way around. I think this might have been an other way around situation.
This is a case that seriously feels like whoever, like the person that came up with, how like if you go to Google or whatever, you go to Google Translate. If you put in an actual sentence that's in a foreign language, for the most, like Spanish, for example, it'll translate it-ish. But if you do it the other way around, like it's nowhere near correct.
Oh yeah, you can go back and forth, even just switch the language and the transition and just keep doing it over and over until finally the thing you get. Yeah, it's your own little game of telephone.
Yeah, and it just is, it's almost universally like wildly incorrect, but somehow that's what I feel like this movie is like that. It was somebody put the translation into Google Translate and it just, there are some words.
And I don't want it to sound like we're ragging on the translation because strangely enough, yes, number one, love it, but also it works in a way that's complementary that is strange because you got to believe that when this movie came out, this wasn't necessarily the intention or how it reads, or how it's actually written in Chinese isn't, we have no idea if it's poorly written in Chinese is what I'm saying. Right. So
here's what I do know. What I know is the translation only works because the music in this movie also is bonkers. Like
that's why I'm saying complimentary. Like it all comes together in just this way that it can't be any other movie. And I'm so glad, even if who knows what parts were actually. We know some of the parts they were certainly going for, and we'll get there. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
I mean this again in a positive way, in every way possible. But this movie seriously feels like somebody watched Looney Tunes and then went, I want to do that in real life. It's a Looney Tunes cartoon, man.
So there is not much on it, and its creation, I think probably because it hasn't got that Blu-ray release, one of the good things for that is that often they'll go back and do some stuff. In fact, some of the stuff I was able to find from the director Hong Moy, who plays Shorty in the film, actually, and was also in Righting Wrongs, has been around for a long time. Yeah. So one of the videos I found, and I did tweet it out, was him, I'm pretty sure, doing exactly that, like a retrospective for some Blu-ray release of some film. I'm not sure. It might have been Zoo Warriors. ZU, by the way, not although I haven't seen the film. Not ZOO, but...
That sounds like a Disney movie waiting to happen, though, doesn't it?
It might have already happened. I don't know.
They just remake Zoo Warriors as Zoo Warriors.
Zootopia isn't... Okay, so
don't talk about that.
I love talking it because there's a song that my kids love from it. It's the Shakira one where it's like, don't try a bunch and fail. Mm-hmm. It's such a strange wording for the idea of just keep trying even if you fail, that my alternate version I like much more, where it's like keep failing, idiots. And anyway, so
you and Shakira are definitely on a similar level.
Oh yeah, we're right there. Yeah, absolutely. So what I can talk about certainly for this film is, of course, Cynthia Ann Markowski from Scranton. who started taking karate at 13 years old. I did mention some of this last time, but I don't think I had it quite in a line. And Blonde Fury is going to come into her deal with Golden Harvest too. So she did become a world champion in forms, which I also want to mention because one of my favorite things from any Cynthia Rothrock movie is because she did Tung Soo Do for the longest time, I believe, until she got turned on to Kung Fu. And as soon as that happened, she basically took off because she's very cinematic. I think all of her training in forms, which, by the way, I guess, so if you've ever seen those YouTube videos where they're like jumping around and doing almost looks like Olympic gymnastic type stuff, but they've got, staff or however, it's not always weapons, but that's forms. And there's anything you look at for Cynthia Rothrock comes back for Hyung, which is the Korean version, which I'm guessing happened because she was doing Tung Soo Do for so long. But also kata is the Japanese word you'll hear a lot.
Kata, I was going to say kata is the phrase that pays.
You're right. So she was undefeated in that realm for 5 years straight, was a goal she set for herself. She talks about it in a number of venues, but eventually joined Ernie Reyes Sr.'s West Coast demonstration team, which Ernie Reyes Sr. is indeed the father of Ernie Reyes Jr.
Yeah, the sidekick.
Yep, sidekick, Ninja Turtles, all that.
Sidekick Ninja Turtle.
And much more,
Surf Ninjas?
It's not Roundhouse.
Round,
the Shakedown. The Rundown. Good gosh.
Round Table Pizza.
I'm quite possibly. If there's not a Round Table Pizza ad featuring Ernie Reyes Jr. from the 80s, I don't know.
We as a society have failed repeatedly decade after decade. So.
So she was on Ernie Reyes Sr.'s West Coast demonstration team when Corey Yuen, or Yun Kwei, as you'll hear him called often, and it's very confusing, asked Reyes to send his best for a movie he was producing. And I think they specifically asked for guys. And Ernie Reyes was like, what about also one girl? And they're like, okay. So sent all his best. And of course, they choose Cynthia Rothrock. And of course, they make Yes, Madam.
So good.
Yes, which, by the way, oh my gosh, like they just YouTube the fight scenes. I think Yes, Madam, for her first movie, is so good.
Dude,
all of that choreography is so good. Her and Michelle Yeoh, obviously, too. But just look like any YouTube video, whatever.
I feel like that maybe she was let down after that. Not so much that she let anybody else down. Like, I don't think anybody gave her that kind of meat to work with again. Like she had lots of
Corey Yuen.
She has lots of great roles, and there are a ton of really cool scenes, really cool movies where she has great fight scenes and stuff, and great choreography. But that was just like. That beyond just that, like, it's a good movie too, so it's got that going for it, which
it's got everything going for it.
The struggle.
But it also is the first example of the thing I was trying to get to with her forms training is there's always that moment in a Cynthia Rothrock movie where she just straight up like kung fu's out for a second. Like she in Yes, Madam, she's like doing this pole for a bit. She like turns her head for a second and then she's back to camera. It's always fantastic.
Love it.
She has at least one in every movie, I feel like, but yeah. After Yes, Madam, she gets a 3-picture deal with Golden Harvest, and I believe Righting Wrongs was the first of that 3. It does get a little fuzzy when it comes to this. And China O'Brien, I think, might have been the 3rd, and it could have been 1 and 2 because they filmed China O'Brien 1 and 2 at literally the same exact time.
Yeah.
A lot of what I'm getting comes from her Art of Action episode with Scott Adkins.
I gotta watch that. I'm gonna watch
great.
that tonight. I wish I had gotten to watch it.
It's very, very good. Yes. But she talks about how they would walk into a room, film a scene for China O'Brien 1, and then the director who, oh my gosh, it's one of Bruce Lee's directors, actually, and I've totally forgotten. Robert Klaus.
Yeah, Robert Klaus. Bobby Klaus. We know him. He's a nice guy.
Enter the Dragon, yeah.
He entered my dragons.
So I'm actually thinking Blonde Fury might have been the second of that 3-picture deal coming in 1989.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so...
I will say very quickly, China O'Brien, though, was... So it was a combination of Fast Getaway, those stupid bad Corey Haim, Leo Rossi movies, and China O'Brien being on TV like all the time. along with, so it'd be like they'd show China O'Brien, and then they'd show another one of her movies, and then they'd show China O'Brien too. Like, it was a weird thing, and they did it all the time. All the friggin' time. It was, Rothrock returns on Friday nights on TNT or something like that. And
well, I mean, she was making, okay, I don't know if she was making millions. Actually, she probably was not making
she
millions,
was making hundreds.
Her videos were selling millions.
Totally.
So I can only imagine that was, had some crossover with the TV market there.
Absolutely, man. They were on that. I mean, that's how I found her, that's when we talk about, of all these people you hear about by name, she is the only reason I know is because of 2 really stupid movies, and then a bunch of, and then China O'Brien, which, I mean, I'm not going to say it's not a stupid movie, but it's great.
It's the beginning of her, because obviously it's an American Golden Harvest co-production.
Right.
And it's kind of the beginning of her returning to the States a little bit, where they did not take advantage of her and had a completely different ethos when it comes to filming action movies. They get into that on the Art of Action episode too a lot, and it is ridiculous to hear them talk about it, because it makes zero sense. They're like, why would you make an action movie and then have the action be like the afterthought, like second, third, fourth unit? Like, why do you make movies like that? So anyway, the other person I wanted to talk about was Mong Hoi, actually, who did start out as a child star, was also in a number of Bruce Lee films, aged out basically into stunt teams, and stayed in the scene that way for the longest time until he ended up on camera so often, because as part of the stunt team or otherwise, or he was just there because he's got acting chops also. He plays Shorty in this film, Blonde Fury. He was in Righting Wrongs. I can't remember his name. I always want to say Bad Egg, but that was Corey Ewan. But kind of came back into acting a little bit because he still has more acting credits than anything else.
Right.
By way of being on the stunt team. Got mixed up with Sammo, and this is actually something I didn't realize that I did get from that video I shared from YouTube. But when Lau Kar Lung hit, which we talked a little bit about last week with 36th Chamber Shaolin and all that,
right?
Apparently he was pushing the Southern style of Shaolin, and when his movies got big, that style came to dominate the Hong Kong cinema. When Sammo came in, he started pushing Northern style. They didn't start pushing it, but I guess that was part of his...
It's just what he did.
Or it's also what he did, yeah. So when Mong Hoi takes up with Sammo, they do this Northern style, but also they do everything. In the end, Sammo basically just mixes it all together and is like, whatever looks good. And there's exceptions to this, and certainly there are movies that deal more with style and all that.
Sure.
But for the most part, Sammo's strength was really putting it all together and getting it cinematically.
Just it's to make it flourish. You want it to pop on camera. It's different when you're doing it for the flourish as opposed to you're doing it for the sport, or you're doing it in an actual fight situation, right?
And I guess I don't want to put one over the other. Obviously, some of the movies that deal very specifically with different styles are incredibly interesting. In fact, I've got one from my rest of the show that does a little bit of that.
Nobody's saying that. Nobody's extrapolating that.
But also the idea that you have this wide range of stuff to choose from to make something that looks good on camera, also very attractive. So yes, anyway. Hoi Mong, or Mong Hoi, depending on where you look, only directed one other thing, and it was a co-directing thing with Sammo called The Tantana, which I've not found. I don't think if it had a U.S. release, I don't think it had a U.S. DVD release. I don't know. But other than that, it's Blonde Fury. And he's still out there. You can still find him. He's got a Facebook.
You make it sound so threatening. He's still out there. He's watching and waiting for his
Well, he's been around for
return.
so long. And he's part of the reason I love doing these episodes is because I do get to go down these rabbit holes where before this, I knew very little about Mong Hoi other than he was in Righting Wrongs. I had seen him in some other things. I kind of saw him around. So I thought, oh, this is one of those guys. But then to go into depth and figure out, oh, he's one of the guys that's you can go to for stuff like that. And this
Yeah.
video on YouTube where he goes into kind of a retrospective is awesome because he was there for all of it and he knows what he's talking about. So I just love discovering new people like that, obviously.
No,
'cause
it's
I'm
great.
the uneducated one here when it comes to that.
We're both extremely uneducated here. Me more so than you.
Fair. All right. But he's on Facebook. You can find his page where he posts a lot of cool pictures from his career over the years and the entire full movie of Blonde Fury on YouTube. He literally shared it at one point. But to answer our question, it did get taken down. So if we did do a Fortune Star Media found it and apparently took it down, which in a way tells me that it's on somebody's radar. Like eventually it gets to Blu-ray, I think is what that means. But yeah, that was right at the tip of COVID, actually. So
dude,
I don't know.
Maybe we'll be lucky and we'll get a Criterion Rothrock. Cynthia
that would be so great. Yeah, are you kidding?
She's got a huge a variety of films. Like that would be insane. They should.
That would be
Criterion
amazing.
really should be doing more. Like they should be digging into some of these. Why are we not doing? Why don't we work for Criterion?
Oh, I don't know. Let me think.
I have an idea. Let's Step Brothers this and go and apply together. Hello, Miss Lady.
Let's Step Brothers this and start talking. I don't know how that worked, but let's start talking about Blonde Fury, the movie, the 1989 female reporter, lady reporter, Above the Law 2. Matt.
Yeah.
What did you think?
First of all, again, nothing bad here. I'm not saying anything negative. So for this movie is an hour and 30 minutes with credits, and boy oh boy does it just fly by. It doesn't. Number one, doesn't feel like an hour and 30 minutes. It feels like this movie happens in the span of 40 seconds. Like it's really just a weird thing. But so the first thing is, wow, those subtitles cannot be right. I'm not even sure if they're even remotely correct. Now, one of the things I highly enjoyed about these subtitles was that not only are they very wrong, but they were clearly put together and like munged, and not like by you, but by the person writing them. Like so,
there's a few words that are
whole mess of words that are just run-on words. Now you get 2 or 3 together. That's fun.
Or just no spaces in the sentence. Yeah, go. In fact, look at either my Twitter or I put a few on the Book Club for Movies. Instagram, all that stuff. But yeah, there's a few. I think the one where Billy Chow and Si Ho Chin are fighting, they're talking about hard feet or something. And it's like, what do you have anything that's harder than hard feet? And like harder than is one word or something like that.
Yeah,
so,
it's
anyway.
Great. I have to tell you, my favorite weird translation is
Please.
When they are it's actually very early on when Rothrock is just getting to Hong Kong and she's talking to the police chief, who's not the police chief. It's the goober guy who's pretending to be the police chief.
So okay. It's worthless to try and tell you the plot, but I guess high level beyond your synopsis.
Yeah, go for it. Yes, please try this.
Cynthia is a undercover FBI probably agent who got a job at a newspaper trying to find some counterfeiters, which I actually liked this part. And strangely enough, I liked the information that was left out. It's hard to parse in building the mystery, like what was done purposefully and what was kind of, or whatever.
Yes.
But they're trying to find counterfeiters that it seems are using printing presses. Like that's why she gets a job at a newspaper. And I think it does end up being that. So she goes sneaking around that place, eventually runs into an insurance adjuster that also turns out to be an
undercover agent.
Hong Kong policeman.
Right.
Is that the person you're referring to?
No.
Okay.
No, it's
that's Si Ho Chin, by the way. We'll come back to because he was a delightful surprise.
Yeah, no. This is so okay. This is all. It doesn't really matter, but essentially, it's this one side character cop who's just a wang. just a
the guy that pretends to be chief is actually the head of, or no, he's not. He's a co-worker of the newspaper where
Right,
Cindy ends up
yes.
working. But for some reason, he's pretending to be the chief when the actual chief walks in.
Yes.
Actually played by Melvin Wong, another holdover from
Thank you.
Above Righting Wrongs. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So he's like talking. He's trying to intimidate Cynthia Rothrock and all that, and he's making fun of the chief. Like, why? What do you mean I'm not the chief? And then the chief walks in, and they get into it kind of for a moment, but he's like really scared. And the chief looks at him and says something, and then he says, "What? Is your mouth not tough enough? Go get some aphrodisiac oil to rinse it."
What? I don't
know what any of that
understand.
I am so curious what aphrodisiac oil is, why he needs to rinse his mouth out with it to make himself tougher. I don't know.
So
the translations,
that's a good one. Sure.
The translations here are monumentally enjoyable.
But like I said, it ends up being complimentary to the point where, I can't imagine this is necessarily what they were going for, but it is also towing the kung fu comedy. Like, there's an excellent bit in there with a rat. This dude
easily my favorite part.
Breaks in.
My favorite section of the movie, because it is bar none, zero like compunction. We've gone full slapstick for this like weird section of the movie. Just full on slapstick, including Cynthia Rothrock's reaction to the like she is goes so big with it. Oh,
I don't think people understand, because a rat comes in while a evil guy has broken into the house, hides behind a curtain. The rat then also goes behind the curtain, and the girl, Cindy's friend, trying to like stab the rat with a broom. The guy behind the curtain grabs the broom, but of course she's like, the rat grabbed the broom, right? So it's like, this is the level of stoogery.
Right.
That is, and it is fantastic. No, don't.
I'm not going to give away how that comes out, because it gets just like, it goes Stephen Chow ridiculous for a very short period of time.
Sure. Without the singing and dancing, barely, maybe.
But yeah. So not only does the music really hit here, and it works, and we talked about that already. But the movie's fun, man. It just, overall in general, it's just a fun, weird, like, the fight scenes, the choreography are all pretty great. There are maybe one or two scenes. I will say, maybe the one thing that I find most funny about this movie that is definitely a bad choice. It is the one thing I will actually say as a negative here is we talked about how in other movies, like, and last week with The Fearless Hyena, about, man, did they speed it up any? It doesn't look like it. It feels like it feels like that was all pretty, except where maybe you could like blatantly instead of speeding up the fight scenes, they were like, screw it, turn on fast forward for the entire section. So she is running and sliding in speeds not known to man. And it is like, you almost want to put the Benny Hill theme song,
Yakety Sax.
Yakety Sax.
Mm-hmm.
And they're really funny. They're not good for the movie, but I am thinking that if you don't speed those up, the movie does probably become about 15 to 20 minutes longer.
Well, I'm guessing, because unless they shot multiples, they have the footage at 22. So they either have to slow it down after that, and that might even look worse than, okay, just leave it sped up, So I don't know what the math was on that. But yeah, this is the movie I was talking about last week, where I said we'll talk about it. Some obvious examples where they're definitely speeding. They do it during some of the fight scenes, and I think they don't do it during some of the fight scenes. So it's interesting. Or it's less noticeable for some of the other ones.
Yes. I think that there are a couple. There are. It definitely seems like the ones where she is one-on-one, they're not necessarily as much. But when it's the group thing, or she has like a lot of movement around the building area, they're speeding out. Like, she's like. Why, if she can move that fast, why is she not just running on the wall? Cynthia Rothrock is in the Matrix. She could Sonic the Hedgehog this.
Yeah, I hadn't considered that if she was superpowered, why did yeah, that's interesting. Uh, what'd you think about her hairstyles?
it,
Plural.
it very much so reminded me of an SNL sketch where they were like, same person, change the wig, go.
So she was filming this at the same time as China O'Brien. So she was actually going back and forth between the States and here. And it sounded like The Inspector Wears Skirts as well was something that was in the hopper. So she said between the two movies and that making Blonde Fury take a little bit longer to film, yes, she has different hairdos as she goes along. Yeah.
You know what's funny though is as the movie was happening, I just kind of went with she's a reporter. She's just trying to make herself look incognito.
It doesn't necessarily take you out of it. I did just notice before, and then I looked it up and was like, oh yeah, okay. So it's not just because if they would have told me that it was the hairdresser and they just thought it'd be cool, like different hairdo each or whatever, but no, yeah, there was a functional reason.
We are lucky enough though to not be blessed with those the scenes that where there's dialogue and they have to cut and her hair completely changes, then it cuts again and it goes back to her and her hair is back to what it was.
So bad. No, it's in the movie is sectioned off by hairdo. Yes, it's not so bad.
That's true. You actually could section this movie around. That's a good idea. Like the China O'Brien section, the
the Inspector Wears Skirts, which that was almost my other choice and might still be my choice for next year. The Inspector Wears Skirts.
Love it.
Or Top Squad, I think is the other alternate for that one. Some of the other performers that I want to mention, and I've already mentioned him, is Sihu Chin, who does play. Yeah, he's really good. He plays the insurance guy that ends up being an undercover cop that ends up allying himself with Cynthia and her team, essentially. But yeah, he's a force, man. Like another person I'm surprised I hadn't heard more about. Like he is extremely competent in those fight scenes. His are the ones that I don't know if they sped them up or not because he looks like he knows what he's doing pretty darn well.
Also, you gotta say, guy is just handsome. He's a good looking dude. Like
that's why I'm saying he's Tom Cruise-y just about too, because he's a shorter dude,
right? Absolutely.
But he's getting the work done.
Short kings can make it happen.
Yeah, I wonder. I didn't look him up, unfortunately, to tell you where he's been. He was in a bunch of stuff. I am discovering him. He was discovered. He's had a long and storied career.
It's just, but I'm with you in the like. How is he not a name that I know? Or somebody that I've gone, oh my gosh, he was also great in this, and I know it off the top of my head. Totally.
I'm guessing he didn't have his Hollywood breakout or whatever it was, or however that goes. So.
Maybe not.
Yeah, also Billy Chow. I'm sorry, I believe it is Billy Chow. But it has a long history in Hong Kong cinema and he plays a bad guy here mostly, but extremely dependable. I think he might have had his U.S. breakout. Actually, now that I think about it, I'm going to look him up.
While you're doing that, I want to mention: did you happen to notice Roy Xiao show up? Did you catch him?
Yeah, so another
we love as Lao She from Temple of Doom.
Yes, and that was certainly his breakout. But he also big, long, storied career in Hong Kong cinema. Yeah, he's so cool that an actor of his caliber comes in and plays essentially an insane prosecutor. Like he gets shot up with some stuff and is a complete goofball for the rest of the film.
It's so perfect too. He goes like, it is totally goofball. I completely forgot until you mentioned that. That is so freaking funny. Yeah. Great stuff. Huge fan.
So Billy Chow, I guess, did not have necessarily speaking a U.S. outbreak. The famous U.S. outbreak from China, Billy Chow. No, Iron Monkey 2 was maybe as close. I mean, he's been in a ton. Like, I guess it depends on where you draw the line, because Iron Monkey 2, plenty of people have heard of. Tai Chi 2, Fist of Legend. Like, he's been in a zillion classics, like I said. But in any event, brings it again to this film. Just great fight scenes. His character doesn't necessarily go so far as he's a bad guy with pathos in the way he gives his performance, and the way he delivers his lines, but I don't know what the pathos is necessarily. It's just he's fun to watch on camera, and this is no exception. If we're going to keep going, did I blow by anything here?
Oh yeah. I mean, I want to shout out my man Ronnie Yu. Ronnie Yu was our bad guy. He was Ronnie Dak, the newspaper guy.
Yes, actually.
So Ronnie Yu.
Okay, this is the one I was thinking of. Yeah, so he has a pretty long directing career.
Yeah, so in particular, he's got a couple that I will call out because they're just great. Number one, Legacy of Rage. Since we're still on the kung fu and martial arts thing, Legacy of Rage is awesome. It's early Brandon Lee, 1986 or some good stuff.
Haven't heard of, actually.
It's a good one.
That'll be fun.
The Bride with White Hair is actually pretty great. It's super super interesting movie, fun.
Not the Bride one I thought you were going to mention, but good.
Then he gets into where my area, baby. he starts getting into horror. He does Bride of Chucky, which I love. He does Formula 51, which is not horror.
We just talked about this. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
I love Formula 51.
Gosh, like a month ago, I swear. Yeah, wasn't it?
Yeah. He ends up doing Freddy versus Jason. Then he jumps back and does the Jet Li movie Fearless.
Yeah.
And and I mean, then he's been pretty quiet since. He's done a couple of episodes.
Yeah, I haven't heard of any of his follow-ups.
I don't. Yeah, but man, I love some of those movies. Freddy versus Jason, I'm a huge fan of it. I don't care.
Yeah, good point. I totally blew by Ronnie Yu. Yeah.
And this is his film debut. He doesn't really act a whole lot, but this is like his basic introduction.
Is this the first
to film.
one he acted in?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
It was kind of his first thing.
Oh yeah, he only has 8 acting credits actually. Oh, he goes back a bit. No, yeah, he was in Legacy of Rage. This is smack dab in the middle. Female reporter.
Also, I'm gonna call this one out just because it's a fun one, and you never would know it. It's super only on the top of my mind because we've talked about it recently, and Beth and I talked about it even more recently. But Jeffrey Falcon is in the background as somebody who gets their butt beat up. He's one of the thugs, and Jeffrey Falcon is the titular hero in the Six String Samurai.
We'll come back to that. You spoiler.
I
think now guessed just about every movie I had in mind. Just give it a second. Well, yeah, we'll get there. But before we go anywhere else, the third act, actually, they brought in Corey Ewan to do a lot of the third act action. The way Cynthia Rothrock tells it, I believe they had some sort of a cut, and there wasn't enough action. So I don't know what Mang Hoi was doing, but they brought in Corey Ewan to direct many, if not all, of the fight scenes from the third act, one of which includes this insane, I'm guessing if you've watched the YouTube for Blonde Fury, you might have seen this one on a cargo net,
dude,
which is it's set up for no particular reason that I can gather. Like it's just suspended from the ceiling. There's a truck in the middle of it, and it is insane. Like she said this is not only she said that Blonde Fury on the whole was one of the hardest movies she's ever done. She felt like every scene had a stunt in it where she thought she was going to die. But she mentions the net one because like there is definitely some wire work going on.
Right.
But it looks like there isn't some wire work going on as well.
It looks like those wires that they were using were actually fishing line. Like, not the kind that should hold a human. They're just like, yeah, you're fine.
It's only the part at the end where like people walk in, Jeffrey Falcon and his buddy walks in, and she's at the top of the net, and they're like, oh, you're on, I forget what they say. It's something weird like, you're on the net, we're going to get you. Or they believe her being on the net is some indication that they're going to beat her. And she's like, oh, and she turns around and just walks down the net. Like, that looks like wire work. Like, not going to lie. But everything else, like, she's, like, literally doing backflips over a dude and landing on the bottom of the net. She said it was insane and super dangerous. And I guess some dude actually, I'm sorry, my apologies to some dude. That was callous. But some dude fell and was actually paralyzed from, I think he landed on the truck below that I mentioned. And another guy broke his leg. How do you break your leg on a cargo net? I don't know. That must have been it must have got caught up pretty bad. Yeah, right.
You get caught, you fall. Oh man, that's gonna.
So yeah.
Yikes.
But it pays off.
It does.
If you watch
all
the
of
movie,
their pain and the paralysis.
maybe not the paralyzation. Sure,
really
okay.
made this movie worth every cent.
But it's certainly one of the things that make these movies one of a kind that you are literally just never going to see again, with very little exception, because they're taking the hits. And Mong Hui gets into this in that video also on YouTube. But there is contact. Like Cynthia Rothrock, one of the reasons she's so amazing is that she is getting hit so hard. Like she is
and then
taking
throwing it
as
back.
bad as she's giving. Yeah. And it looks like it. Like it's probably bad. In fact, hearing Mong Hui talk about it, he's like, it was probably bad that this happened. We cannot do it anymore. This is, people should act in movies.
Right.
But I'm so glad this period of cinema did exist, and the way they did it did exist for as long as it did, because there's just nothing like these movies anymore.
I think it's her fight with Suho Chin at the beginning when they first meet, where it looks like she is getting some kicks to the stomach. Like,
so when is that maybe the one where in fact, this might be the third act fight directly before the net fight, or not directly before, but there's a little bit of a break, but where it's like a dark office building kind of thing. And yeah, she's getting kicked over tables and stuff like that. Yeah.
Also that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, she's taking hits in every single fight, but yeah, that one, I like the action in this film because it does get steadily more, all of the above, more choreographed, more brutal.
Yeah,
more,
the aggression definitely raises with the stakes of the movie.
Yes, that's the great way to put it. Yeah. So I thought that was great about the film too. But I don't have anything else about Blonde Fury except if you can find it, go see it.
Yeah, if you are a patron and you want this, I don't know, maybe get a hold of one of us.
That sounds.
Get a hold of me.
I don't want to put it behind any sort of paywall. I feel like that gets illegal, but
no, we're not gonna. It's not a bid. You guys just. I mean, anybody.
If you're a patron in the sense that you patronize our content, not necessarily with money, although you could do that. If I ever mentioned the Patreon, you would know that it exists, and you can find us there at Patreon/Book Club for Movies.
Yeah, that's it.
But when it comes to giving away movies, that has nothing to do with it.
Yeah, we're not giving away the movie. You just, if you want to see the movie, I'm just saying, just get a hold of me and maybe, I'll tell you more about it.
Let's, last time I looked up the DVD on Amazon, it was in the hundreds. How much do you think a DVD of Blonde Fury costs on Amazon in this day and age, Matt?
Well, I mean, to be fair, after watching a movie of that caliber, if it's not still in the hundreds, maybe twos, I don't know. Again,
it's true. The price goes up when you actually know what you're getting here.
Yeah.
$199.
There we go.
Yeah, that is the bottom of the barrel for. Actually, that's the only listing there is. Yeah, there you go. So whoever's got that DVD, just sitting pretty, hoping the Blu-ray never comes out. For Blonde Fury, which I would give, Blonde Fury, 90 stars. Female Reporter, 78. Above the Law 2, 103. And Lady Reporter, is that the one I'm missing? 500.
All right. So equaling all of this out, we're going to, it sounds about 1,025 stars on your side. 1,025.
That came in a little low, actually.
Maybe, yeah. Fine. 2,000. Let's just round it all the way up to 2,000. 2,000 stars on your side out of 1,998.
Excellent.
It's so good.
Once again, you can find us at bookclubformovies.com, Facebook and Twitter. I don't even think I mentioned that up top. Oh, that's right. We had that mess of an introduction. So you can also find us on Patreon. I did mention that one. Matt, do you want to know what we're doing next week?
I sure do.
So I had planned to do 6-String Samurai.
Okay.
That has changed.
Uh-oh.
And I don't know if I should, because I'm going to talk about now 6-String Samurai for the rest of the show. I don't know if I should do that while explaining to you why the movie has changed, or if you just want to know and we'll follow it up.
No. I want to know. I need explanation here.
Okay. So obviously it was Jeffrey Falcon. I thought, oh, it'll be cool to do this because once you told me about Six String Samurai, which I've never seen, and you barely just told me about it last year, I looked up and was like, oh, dude, guy was in all of these Hong Kong movies that I'm either have watched or are already on my list. He was in this one. He was in Blonde Fury. He was in Top Squad, the Inspector Wears Skirts, the other one I mentioned today. But he's been in, it looks like 15 others at the very least of these Hong Kong, like straight up Hong Kong action movies. He's also way older than I guessed. The dude was born in 62. He's 60 this year, hopefully, if he's still alive. But was in all these Hong Kong movies, so I thought, yeah, it'd be cool to do this one and then follow it up with Six String Samurai. So I started watching Six String Samurai, which you have seen before. Right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
It's not really, it doesn't really fit, but continue.
That is basically it. Yeah. So it starts with one of my favorite crawls of all time. In 1957, the bomb dropped and the Russians took over what was America. The last bastion of freedom became a place called Las Vegas, and Elvis was crowned king. After 40 rockin' years, the king is dead. Every guitar-picking, sword-swinging opportunist, including Death himself, hears the call echoing across the wastelands. Vegas needs a new king. So if that wasn't enough to sell me anyway, and Jeffrey Falcon is, I don't want to say on full display, but he is on some display
There's
here.
some
Like
display here,
you would see him and be like, oh, he's got training, he's got skills, which he absolutely does.
Yeah.
Like he absolutely brings his own to those fights in Blonde Fury as well. Like I would love to see more of his movies.
The Falcon.
But yeah, the more that movie went on, the more Six String Samurai went on, I enjoyed it. But they're just going for something so very, very different. And when it comes to the action, it's not filmed for action necessarily. This is a fever dream of a movie.
That's a great descriptor.
Well, you'll hear it with literally anything you look up about it. There's a documentary I wanted to watch, but I couldn't find it. But yeah, fever dream is mentioned quite often. I found a podcast and there's some YouTube videos. But it got a 4K re-release like
just last year
in 2020 or 21, something like that. So there's a documentary that went along with that. Lance Mungia, who directed the thing as a grad school thesis, actually. He met Jeffrey Falcon apparently while he was visiting, because Jeffrey Falcon lived in Hong Kong or lived in China, and came over for whatever. They met, they started to brainstorm and came up with this idea of kind of a Buddy Holly samurai. His name is Buddy in the movie, and they both put up about $25,000 and made what they could of it as this grad school thesis thing, and then got financing for the rest with what they had made. And honestly, I can see why. It looks really, really, really good. It sounds really, really good. It's when I say it's a fever dream of a film, it's smack dab in the late 90s, like very specifically. The music that they did get is by the Red Elvises.
The Red Elvises, baby.
Which I thought was a gimmick. They are actually Russian.
Yeah.
Yeah. And do dress like they're in the film as, Red Elvises.
Yeah.
But also they do the music along with, in fact, if anybody broke out from Six String, it doesn't list specifically his role. It just says music by the Red Elvises and Brian Tyler, who went on to work with Marvel and did a bunch of Marvel movies, among other things. Eagle Eye, Law Abiding Citizen, and other Gerard Butler movies, apparently. But the whole thing is such a great combination of these people that were doing their first thing and maybe haven't done a ton since, and kind of nailed it all on the first try. It's not an action movie, I think, is the thing.
Right.
And not to its detriment. It's just not what they were going for.
No, that's just not what
they
it
were
is.
Going for that fever dream thing.
Yeah.
And they nail it. They completely nail that. Like all the audio is dubbed like on purpose.
Yeah.
Because it's like creates this ethereal kind of like Buddy, the character of Buddy, has all these great lines. The dialogue is fantastic. All of the don't ever touch my guitar. He beats up a gang of bowlers, and as one of them's dying, he says, "Pick up the spare," and then he knocks him out. When he actually meets Death, because Death is kind of chasing him down throughout the movie, he says, "Who are you?" And Death says, "Death," and he says, "Cool." It's really, really good. But it's just not. I don't think it fits with Julykwondo. The
Agreed. I'm definitely gonna
month-long.
watch it now though, because I didn't know you had watched it. So now I'll watch it because I haven't seen
Yeah.
it in forever.
Yeah, I mean it's worth watching 1,000,000%. I'll have a few more thoughts then. If you come back with it, we can talk about it maybe some more.
Yeah.
It's
I'll put on this week for sure because it's that's just good quality stuff.
so instead.
Yeah.
This is the thing too. A lot of these movies were hard to choose this year. Number one, it was hard to choose any movie from the 80s because there's so many. So many. I think we did fine with Blonde Fury.
Mhm.
But also I wanted to choose one from kind of the US offshoot. Last year we led with The Perfect Weapon. So I kind of wanted a perfect weapon for this year. And for a bit,
Don't we all?
Six String Samurai, without having seen it, filled that void because it was a US production, but still had some Kung Fu and some Kung Fu lineage.
Mhm.
But maybe not in the same way that The Perfect Weapon did. So yeah, so
Mortal Kombat is what we're gonna watch.
Six String Samurai. Next week we're going to watch
Street Fighter the movie.
Fire Down Below. You're not that far off, really.
Oh, that's another what's his name? Jeff Speakman, isn't it?
Steven Seagal?
Oh, Steven Seagal. Oh. Oh boy.
I have very little experience with Steven Seagal. Obviously, I know who he is, and I've heard a lot of the stories, and I've watched his Art of Action episode, but I've never gone back. Oh my gosh.
Get ready.
I don't know that I've seen any of his movies outside of TV, one. But also, this is a later example of that. So I'll tell you, I'm 30 plus minutes into it already, and there's plenty to talk about.
Oh, I'm sure there is.
And when we get into Seagal himself, there will be even more. So
Fire Down Below is one that was towards the end, I think, of
Yes.
when I don't know that I ever saw this one actually. This may have been
even better.
I never saw this one.
Yeah, so come back next week for Fire Down Below, which if Seagal is good for anything, it's movies with the same title as other movies. So this would be the 1997?
It is 1997. You were correct.
Okay, good. Again, check out the cast though. Like there's going to be plenty to talk about here with Steven Seagal, Chris Christopherson, Stephen Lang, Harry Dean Stanton, an early favorite from what I've seen. But yeah. And I've already gone into, I feel like, what I will of Six String Samurai until maybe we get back into it when you've seen it.
Yeah.
I do have one other movie.
Well,
It is Kung Fu related.
I like Kung Fu
Perhaps
related.
I shall just continue.
Please.
I finally watched Snake in the Eagle Shadow.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
fun fact. My good son Ian here, he contacted me recently, was very, very thrilled about, really enjoyed the last week's episode on the Fearless Hyena.
Oh, cool.
And specifically asked, I guess, potentially on the Instagram about Snake and Eagle Shadow.
Yes, I did see his comment on the Instagram, which it's been on my list for a great long while. I think it first popped up when we were looking at Drunken Master, because Drunken Master was probably the biggest Kung Fu comedy hit for a while or at the time. But everybody that I read was like, it's kind of not a reworking, but an even earlier example was Snake and the Eagle Shadow when it came to that. And sure enough, it is a variation on a formula. Well, I guess I should say Drunken Master, since Snake and the Eagle Shadow came out before. Jackie Chan, Yen Wuping, and again, many the actual Drunken Master, like the old Drunken Master, Si Tin Yuan, is in Snake in the Eagle Shadow as a drunken beggar again, which, by the way, like they put like wigs and stuff on him, they do the classic like old man gray hair stuff.
Sure.
But he was actually very old and still does quite a bit of those action sequences himself. He died in 1979. Like he was already up there. Yeah. But yeah, you'll recognize a lot of things. Like it begins with an evil man chasing down. It's Eagle Claw style, chasing down a snake style, and kills him. And that's the big bad that we see at the beginning. And then we don't see him for a bit. Just like Fearless Hyena, I believe, just like Drunken Master also.
Mm-hmm.
But I do really, really like the relationship that Chan and the old man build in this movie more than Drunken Master, more than Fearless Hyena. For whatever reason, it really, really works in this one. Like, I like seeing them together. I feel it when he disappears, and there's some moments where Chan can't find him. Or Chan plays a very naive character who knows zero kung fu kind of at the start, and learns snake style by way of the old man since they've forged a friendship. But then also, because I don't want to spoil it, but creates his own style towards the end. I won't tell you the name of it. But it was just cool to see me connect with that part, whereas mostly I'm like, okay, what's the next fight? Because also the fights are next level. Like, I've always want to fool myself into thinking I can tell a Yen Wu Ping movie. I don't know if that's entirely true, but man, every time I see one, and this was no exception, I'm like, there's something next level about this. Like, the very first scene is, or sorry, not the first choreographed scene with Chan is the drunken beggar basically fighting people through Chan, like, and like, I can't even explain it. Like, he's moving Chan's limbs in a way with like a pole and stuff like that. Like, it's
like
brilliant.
Puppetry. He's doing
great.
a puppet fight. Yeah.
Yep, sure.
A marionette.
And that just holds throughout. Like, the choreography is just next level throughout. It's super great. Definitely watch it. Absolutely watch it. I would not have been disappointed if it was one that I chose this year instead of, Fearless Hyena or Drunken Master the year before.
Well, too late. You've screwed everything up. Now we can never watch it again.
There's just so many. We'll do Julykwondo until we're dead, and we'll never hit them all. So, at the very least, I get through just a bunch of my list. Not really, but like 2 a week while we do this. So it's good stuff. Check it out. Highly recommended.
All right.
Do you have any others you want to talk about for this show?
I'll briefly mention only because I don't remember where it came up. I feel like we talked about it here, but my life is a blending of reality podcasts and who knows what else. That whole history of punk that was on YouTube. Did you ever finish that?
No.
Yeah, okay.
So now you have finished it and I have not.
You sucker.
This came from last week where you talked about 24-hour party people, and I was like, oh, this reminds me of this thing I'm watching on YouTube that is very good, at least the half I've seen. You finished it.
We did.
How was it? And you watch it with Beth, right?
We did. Yeah.
Yeah, so I want to know what you both thought.
Yeah, no, we both liked it a lot. It had a ton of information in there that was new to me that she already was very aware of. There was some stuff in there that she did not know. There were some bands in there that she was very unfamiliar with, which was cool. Yeah. She was, there were a couple of, she was like, I don't know. But a majority of them she was totally on board with, like, oh yeah. I saw them, or they were this and blah, 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 blah. So really, really enjoyed it. I just
thought it did a really good job of drawing the line.
It does,
from the States to the UK, and I'm guessing back again, but I haven't.
Well,
did you say like
it follows? Yeah. It does. It follows through kind of the movement itself, and then where they feel it ended, which is kind of interesting because you start getting into that conversation about. So Thurston Moore is in there quite a bit, where and at towards the end we start getting into the Sonic Youth aspect of stuff, and Henry Rollins has a whole lot to say, which is not a surprise. But
really,
I do think that Henry Rollins is also unique in that he's I don't think he's wrong in a lot of what he says.
No, we make fun. Dude is smart. Like whatever. Like I get why. I mean, that is a going back to Black Flag and yeah.
But at the end of this, like it dovetails nicely actually into this other documentary that I'm not going to talk about yet, but we'll talk about it probably next week. Because it does start talking about where did punk die? And and what was that, and it's kind of like that punk, and what it morphed into, where it went from kind of the attitude to the sound to the music to this, and it kind of ends right with like the Nirvana into the Green Day into the pop punk stuff, and then that's going to get followed up for us with a doc called 1991, the year that punk broke, which I watched. And came out in 92. I think I watched it for the first time in like 96 or 97. Somebody had it, and it was one of those, somebody dubbed it from a tape that was dubbed from, like, it was like one of those, it was totally like my version of the Ring tape if I didn't watch it and then give it to somebody. But it was totally like, it was one of those dub tapes that a bunch of people passed around, and it was a great doc, and I haven't seen it since. But it's actually kind of less of a doc in the way that this one was, this thing that's on Audible, or not Audible. It was made by Amplified. The history
is the name of the YouTube channel.
Yeah. History of Punk Sound of Rebellion is the name of the YouTube video and the channel.
Yeah.
So
By the way, I guess we should mention that.
Yeah. So the year punk broke is kind of a combination documentary tour movie where they were following Sonic Youth and Nirvana as they tour Europe, and interspliced with various other bands, like Dinosaur Jr. shows up, and they have they show full like songs, like they have interstitials of music and whatnot from shows. But yeah, it's a super interesting doc to follow that one up with. So if you get the chance to finish up History of Punk Sound of Rebellion on YouTube on the Amplified channel, check out 1991, the year punk broke. I'll talk more about it next week, a little more detail, because
Are you still going through it, or you're just?
We haven't started it yet. I'm just I know what it is because I've seen it, but I haven't seen it in so long. I don't remember the meat.
Have you not seen it since the VHS tape days?
No. Yeah.
That'll be cool.
Correct.
All right, cool.
Yeah, this will be a rewatch from VHS days.
I'm putting a little bit of that on hold while I get through some of the kung fu stuff, but I'll be back with you next month for sure. What's the name of the musical month that we can do?
Oh, that's a good idea. We should do a musical month. We should do musical May. Musicals.
Yeah, okay. You're right. It won't work. All right, cool. Anything else?
No, nothing to speak of. I think I've got a couple of movies that I'm going to be doing. The newsletter should be coming up sometime
Yeah, I'm
next
like,
week
you always
so.
got to make that choice. Gotcha.
So I got a couple floating around in there. I will go ahead and mention, I'm not going to write about it, but I will mention Beth finally saw a movie that she had never seen before. And it's an important film, but her reaction to it was priceless. And the movie was Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. And her reaction was, this is the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. And I love it.
Okay.
So that worked out. Also, I'm gonna mention this real quick, just because this is real quick.
Okay.
We turned on Weekend at Bernie's.
Okay.
We got about halfway through it. That movie is not funny. Like, it's just not funny.
In what way, though?
Like conceptually, you love the idea, and Terry Kaiser is really the best part of that movie for sure. But it's not funny. Like, none of it, the jokes don't land. Nothing that they do really lands as a joke. It's just kind of this. But I remembered when I was younger, I was like, this was funny. No, I was wrong. This
is an interesting thesis. I want to hear
how Weekend at Bernie's not funny. Weekend at Bernie's 2, very funny.
What about Mannequin?
Love Mannequin, not funny. Mannequin 2, hilarious.
Okay, interesting. This is good academia.
Mm-hmm.
I'm into it.
Predator, not funny. Predator 2, hilarious.
I'm also into Fire Down Below. So come back next week and watch the seminal, probably no idea, Steven Seagal classic Fire Down Below from 1997. As always, you can find us at podcast@bookclubformovies.com. If you want to email, if you want to contact us on the socials, just do that. And then
just
look at Patreon, what we've done. I think I've got a post in the chamber Julykwondo related.
It's the
Since I've been digging through quite a bit here, so
which chamber is it? The 36th.
no, that was good though. I like that.
Thank you.
Should have used that last week. So check out the Patreon for that and ways that you can help us to continue to do this, should that be in the cards.
And we like playing cards. I think next week we should probably do a live show.
Oh yeah, we can do that. Do the television volleyball?
Yeah, we should.
Oh, okay. All right. I've got 5 more episodes of TV to round off my... Oh, actually, no, I might have 6 because you finished Miss Marvel, didn't you?
I did.
All right. So yeah, come back for that next week. Probably on Thursday is when we do them most often. Probably at 7-ish is when we do them most often on the YouTube live portion of things. So,
boom.
Thank you and goodbye.
And thank you and goodbye.